There's some books on this TBR that's gonna have y'all questioning my sanity, and yeah, I'm questioning it too. So, let's get into it. Hello my lovely friends, it's Margaret. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about what I am going to be reading in October. There are a couple of things that you need to know about how my October is going to go. Number one, I'm running a readathon. It's still a little surreal to me that this readathon is happening because I've been talking about doing it for so long. Like so long, like 2 years at this point. And I finally had the brain capacity to make it a reality. So I am doing Fablen, The Rise of the Shadow Library. If you want all of the information on how Fablen works, take a look down in the description box. There are main quests and side quests and guilds, and you build a character and all of that stuff. I'm not going to go into that for this video because, again, there is an entire video linked in the description where you go through all of that. All you need to know for this video is that there are prompts that I am trying to fulfill for this readathon, and I know them, and you will be finding them out as we go throughout the month of October. I can guarantee that every single book on this TBR will fit a prompt for Fablen. I just am not going to tell you which ones. The other thing that I am doing is one of our lovely Fablen hosts is also doing her own readathon called TBR Harvest. If you haven't heard of TBR Harvest yet, what rock have you been living under? Because it's kind of a big deal. I will have that link down below in my description as well if you are interested. I'm going to be rolling as I go throughout the month. This is probably going to be a mistake, but I needed to be rolling some dice during my readathon that is based on D&D. However, because I was planning on there being a lot more people than I can fit at a table, I had to figure out some ways for us to navigate that without there being dice rolling. So what I do know about TBR Harvest is I am going to be getting all of the cats. That's my main goal. If I do no other prompts for TBR Harvest, that's what I want to do. For the cast, there are 6 prompts. I only need to complete 5, but I'm going to read out all 6. They are: read a book with a C, A, and T in the title. Read a book with a haunted house on the cover. I assume there is some wiggle room because there's a little note here that says house doesn't have to be haunted. We're going to try and find something haunted though, because that might be relevant. Also, I need to read a mostly black cover. I'm pretty sure I have that. Read a book with a cat on the cover. Read a book with witchy vibes. So that's like witch main character, magic in it, anything like that. And then read a book that has a cat in it. So it can be the main character, a pet, a sidekick, etc. Those are the 2 readathons that I am doing. Let's get into some of my mandatory reads. And this is the first place where people are going to go, what? Are you okay? No, I'm not. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but I've had the idea and now I have to commit to it. I have to do it. I just got the giggles thinking about how ambitious and ridiculous it is that I am trying to read this book in a month. When I hold up the book, you're going to understand why I'm just like, what is wrong with me? But that book is the 2014 Players Handbook. This is what I run all of my games out of. This and the Dungeon Master's Guide, but we're not going to do, we're just, there's a new Player's Handbook that has come out, and I want to make sure that I am fully aware of all of the stuff that is in this book when I go in and see if there's anything. Like, I don't want to be going to my players, 2 of whom are DMs, and being like, hey, I saw this thing in the 2024 handbook that just came out, and I think we should maybe start doing this, and have my brother and the other player that is, I almost said character, the other player that is a DM go, Margaret, that's been a D&D rule since 5e came out. Fablen is not a tabletop role-playing game, but it is introducing you to some of the concepts, like character creation, things like having a guild, things like a lot of the encounters that you're going to go through are encounters that I would build and may eventually build for my actual D&D group that I have set in this world. Yes, I created this world for a TBR game and then made my friends all play in this world. Anyways, I'm always trying to be a better dungeon master and player, and I really feel like reading through this entire book at some point is something that I need to do. Also, we've talked about this, but I have the first 5 books in the original Goosebumps series. This is part of my project where I'm reading books where I was expressly forbidden or knew I would be forbidden from reading them as a child. We've done Cheetah Girls, we have done Animorphs, now we are moving on to Goosebumps. I fully understand why my mother did not have me read these as a child. This is the foundational, horror that a lot of kids read. So we're going to be reading all of them. We've got Welcome to Dead House, Stay Out of the Basement, Monster Blood, Say Cheese and Die, and The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Next, let's talk about, and this seems like the easiest way to go about this, but we're going to talk about the books in my pile of possibilities that are for TBR Harvest. These also will fit Fablen prompts. They're just also for TBR Harvest. I might be in trouble because I'm looking at the order of these and they may not. I don't know if they match the order of Fablen, but the books are out of order anyways because I wasn't giving y'all that. I've done the amazing readathon. I know how smart y'all are. I know the patterns that you guys are able to find in things even when we're not aware that we're making those patterns. So if you can find a pattern in this, good on you. You've won the readathon, but I don't think you're going to be able to. We're going to start out for the book that needs to have C, A, and T in the title. We're going to read It Came from the Trees by Ali Russell. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on these, by the way, because I've got a lot to do and only so much time to edit this video. So it's got to be short, sweet, less talking. I believe this is about a Girl Scout troop. Our main character, or not, some sort of scouting troop. Our main character, there is a girl that has gone missing, her friend, I think, and she's made a connection between her friend going missing and a whole bunch of other attacks that have been happening in the woods. And so she is getting the rest of her scouting troop together and having them go out and go looking for things. For the book with a haunted house, we're going to be reading Winterborn Home for Vengeance and Valor by Ali Carter. This is a new, like, boarding school book that she is reading. She's not reading it, she's writing it. And I don't remember what's going on here. I just know it's Ali Carter, so of course I had to pick it up and I had to grab it. It is also middle grade, which means it will be nice and short and quick. For a book with a cat on the cover, this might be a mild stretch because this definitely is not a house cat, but I am going to be digging into Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Wrath of the Triple Goddesses. This is the second book in the senior year adventures where Percy is doing quests for the gods in order to get recommendation letters so he can go to New Rome University. Like, there's something, I don't remember what happened in the first book, but something happened, and they were like, hey, you can't just go there, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna happen. This is a book that was written by Rick Riordan, and it's about Percy Jackson, and that is my favorite. It's my favorite series in the world, and I didn't know how much I needed a series that had one of my favorite characters having to do things. Like, Rick Riordan heard us talking about how people would read books with their favorite characters going grocery shopping, and he said, hold my beer. And he went and he wrote a series about it, and it is, I didn't know I needed this series until I started it. I picked it up, I thought it was going to be fun, and then just being able to see them do all of the things, like have all of the shenanigans that I'm used to them having, but not have it be, it's still life or death, but it's not end of the world life or death. That's nice. I appreciate that about the series. The light is swiftly going. I think I need to pull out another light. For a mostly black cover, I am going to be reading Damsel by Elena K Arnold. I have this one as a leftover from when I did Mystic Readathon last month, and there's a princess involved. And I believe a prince is supposed to rescue her from a dragon, but I think that goes wrong. And the final book is also one that I picked up during Mystic Readathon and wasn't able to get to, but that is going to be Sinner's Isle by Angela Montoya. Our main character literally is a witch living on an island of witches, and there's a dude that gets washed up on the shore. She wants to leave. I think they're going to be working together, stuff like this. But like, do you see this cover? Do you see how stunning this cover is? Moving on to just the generic pile of possibilities. I'm not committing to any of the books on this TBR, to be honest, because I know next month is going to be crazy for me. What I read will have an effect on how the readathon goes. There are some surprises in store there that you'll learn more about later, but I just want to make sure that I stay reading and I read a book for every single one of the encounters. So I just gave myself a lot of options, and I will also, if none of these if I'm not feeling any of these, I'm going to go outside of those options. The first one on this list is I'm going to read and finish this time I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I have the audiobook of this one. I started it last month. I'm just gonna restart it for this month because I didn't get very far, and I feel like I wasn't in a place to really like take in what Stephen Graham Jones was throwing at me for this one, except that for like the first time ever, there is accurate representation of what's supposed to happen when you put an EpiPen in someone. The light is changing, it's fine, we're just gonna go as fast as we can. We're following a main character who ends up being a slasher. Usually Stephen Graham Jones' main characters are indigenous, and it's very much horror grounded in indigenous history and indigenous lore. This is going to be a bit different because this is him from the perspective of the slasher, deconstructing the slasher genre. I've heard a lot of people who love my favorite books by Stephen Graham Jones, which are The Only Good Indians and My Heart is a Chainsaw. A lot of people who loved those not loving this one as much. So I'm very interested to see how this goes and how he's going to tackle this. I am not very well versed in slashers, so I'm wondering if that may have an effect. This next one is going to be a stretch, and this just might be something that I read throughout the month of October when I have time because I want to, and that is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I want to continue on with my reread of this series. I started the first book in January, and we are now in October, and I haven't finished it. So I just want to keep going with this. If you haven't heard me talk about A Darker Shade of Magic, it is following this, so there are parallel worlds, okay? And these parallel worlds are connected by Londons. They each have their own version of London, and the Londons are connected by these people called the Antari. Kel is our main character who we're following in the first book. We're following. He's an Antari. He lives in Red London. He goes back and forth between what he calls Grey London and White London. There is also Black London, but no one has been to that world in a very long time because magic took over and everyone was like, nope, bye, sealed it off, and it was gone. Turns out there's some stuff lingering around, and Kel accidentally brings that stuff from his visit in White London to his home, and then has to figure out how to get rid of it, and in doing so, he meets Lila Bard, who is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, and if you don't like her, we're fighting. Actually, no, you don't have to like her. I love this series. I've read it multiple times, and I just like the newest, V.E. Schwab is doing a companion series or a sequel series to this series, and I want to read that, but I wanted to refresh this because it's been so long and I love this series so much. Also, I would like to potentially get to A Warrior Girl Unearthed by Angeline Boulley. This is kind of a sequel to Boulley's debut, which was Firekeeper's Daughter. Read that, absolutely adored it. It was just one of the best written books I've ever read. Like, you can tell that this woman spent 20 years working on this book. If I remember correctly, our main character is the niece of the main character in Firekeeper's Daughter. This book specifically is in conversation with the missing and murdered Indigenous women. That's what this is tackling. That is the main plot line of this book. I don't need to know much else because I loved Angeline Boulley's first book, and I knew I was going to pick this up. I also have 5 Broken Blades by Mai Corland. I have no idea what this is about. I saw this, and I purchased it because some of my friends liked it. I know this is a Red Tower book, and I know that Red Tower has had some issues with quality control and all of those kinds of things. Those are not the author's fault, by the way. I know that this might have been a risk, picking it up. I have no idea what it's about, though. I just knew it looked good. The King of Yusan must die. The 5 most dangerous liars in the land have been mysteriously summoned to work together for a single objective, to kill the god King June. He has it coming. Under his merciless immortal hand, the nobles flourish, while the poor and innocent are imprisoned, ruined, or sold. This sounds really familiar. And now each of the 5 blades will come for him. Each has tasted bitterness, from the hired hitman seeking atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, or even the prince banished from his cruel crimes. None can resist the sweet, icy lure of vengeance. They can agree on murder, they can agree on treachery, but for these 5 killers, each versed in deception, lies, and betrayal, it's not enough to forge an alliance. To survive, they'll have to find a way to trust each other, but only one can take the crown. Let the best liar win. This feels like a Dungeons & Dragons game. Like, this would be perfect to read during this readathon. So many of these, I'm realizing, are books that I wasn't able to get to during Mystic Readathon because my brain went in books no, and I'm hoping it will not do that in October. We're also going to be reading The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. I know this is about vampires. That is all I know. Everything has a spirit. The willow tree, the leaves that kiss the pond, the stream that feeds the river, the wind that exhales fresh snow. I swear I can talk. But the spirits that reside within this land want to be rid of all humans. Mother Nature's fighting back, guys! One woman stands between these malevolent spirits and the end of humankind, the queen. She alone has the magical power to prevent the spirits from destroying every man, woman, and child, but queens are still only human, and no matter how strong or good they are, the threat of danger always looms. Because the queen's position is so precarious, young women are specially chosen to train as her heirs. Delena, a seemingly quiet academy student, is under no illusions as to her claim to the throne, but simply wants to right the wrongs that have befallen the land. Meanwhile, the disgraced champion Ven has spent his exile secretly fighting against the growing number of spirit attacks. When Delena and Ven join forces, these daring partners embark on a treacherous quest to find the source of the spirit's restlessness, a journey that will test their courage and trust and force them to stand against both enemies and friends to save their land before it's bathed in blood. Does that sound like a Margaret book, or does that sound like a Margaret book? The cover is so, the cover is giving Lord of the Rings levels of gorgeousness, guys, okay? We also have Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tulia. From what I understand, this one, the main character is escaping one king's rule and ends up in the court of the Sun King and in the Sun Queen trials. We also have Vampire Empire Book 1, The Grey Friar by Clay Griffith and Susan Griffith. The reason that I have this, that I got this from the library, is because it is narrated by James Marsters. And I love him as a narrator. So I have no idea what this is about other than there are vampires involved. We also have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I would love to get to this at some point in my life. It looks stunning. Look at these sprayed edges. We have a woman, she's married to someone, and he makes it so she has to fight against his son. I believe she and the son are going to have a thing. She's also like the daughter, or she has the blood of a goddess. So we're getting like Shield Maiden, Norse mythology vibes. That's about as much as I know. I don't want to get up and move any more stuff, so we're just going to do that. We also have The Maro Thieves by Sherry Demeline. We are following Frenchie in this book. I've read the first like half of it, and I had to DNF, well, not DNF, like I put it aside, was going to get back to it, and I was going to get back to it 3 years ago. So I just need to start the whole thing over from the beginning. But we're following Frenchie in a futuristic time. I believe we are traveling through Canada as this is happening. What's happened is everyone except for Indigenous people have lost the ability to dream. And dreaming is very important to people being able to like actually rest and sleep. And because of this, Indigenous people are being hunted down for their marrow so that other people can dream. We also have To Shape a Dragon's Breath, yet another carryover from Mystic Readathon. This is about a woman who finds a dragon in her village, or hatches a dragon in her village, and then is taken from her village with her dragon to be trained in an empire that is kind of the ones that are in charge of all of the dragons. Like they think they should be in charge of all the dragons, and so it's going to go into a lot of that. The parallels here are not subtle, and I love it. So I cannot wait to, this is going to get picked up at some point this year. We also have The Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Ifueko. This is about a girl who makes a deal with a crocodile despite knowing that he is dangerous. She makes that deal, I don't remember exactly why. I know that there's something about her magic that makes people like want her around, but not like be wary and be suspicious of her. She is trying to do something. What was it? Right. Okay, so she is a curse eater. She has the ability to change people's fate by cleaning their houses, and then she wants to earn her place in her city. I've been told that this can be comped to Howl's Moving Castle. And the final book that we have on this TBR is Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. I picked this up because it was a host fave for Mystic Readathon. I knew I wasn't going to have time to get to it, but I was like, this sounds interesting. I want to read it. What is it about, though? As the daughter of a rancher in 1840s Mexico, Nana knows a thing or two about monsters. Her home has long been threatened by tensions with the Anglo settlers from the north. But something more sinister lurks near the ranch at night. Something that drains men of their blood and leaves them for dead. Something that once attacked Nana 9 years ago. Believing Nana dead, Nestor has been on the run from his grief ever since, moving from ranch to ranch, working as a vaquero. No amount of drink can dispel the night terrors of sharp teeth. No woman can erase his childhood sweetheart from his mind. When the United States invades Mexico in 1846, the two are brought abruptly together on the road to war. Nana as a curandera, a healer striving to prove her worth to her father so that he does not marry her off to a stranger, and Nestor as a member of the auxiliary cavalry of ranchers and vaqueros. But the shock of their reunion and Nana's rage at Nestor for seemingly abandoning her years ago is quickly overshadowed by the appearance of a nightmare made flesh. And unless Nana and Nestor work through their past and face the future together, neither will survive to see the dawn. I'm not picking that pile of books up, guys. It's not happening today. I know I usually do that, but it's not happening today. Those are the books that I am planning on reading for Fablen and the potential clues they may or may not hold. If you are interested in a little more information to see if you can figure out more, I will have a playlist right up here of the other Fablen hosts videos. Some of them may have a little bit more information that is currently available to the public, so check them out, see if you can put some pieces together. I will also have the Fablen announcement right down here if you're wanting to check out the readathon. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you like the vibes on my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye! I realized that the Player's Handbook, like I know there's one specific prompt that the Player's Handbook would in fact fulfill if I could read it in the amount of time I'd have to read it, but it does fulfill multiple prompts for this readathon.